welcome to the Candidates Forum on Orion Neighborhood Television. Tonight we'll meet your candidates for Township Clerk, Trustee, and Treasurer. Tonight's program is brought to you by Orion Neighborhood Television, the Orion Area Chamber of Commerce, and the League of Women Voters. Now let's head out to the studio for the 2016 Candidates Forum.
Good evening and welcome to the 2016 Orion Township Candidates Forum. I'm Kim Urbanowski, the Executive Director of the Orion Area Chamber of Commerce. Our mission at the Orion Area Chamber of Commerce is to promote the community and to enhance the growth and the development of business in the area. Our chamber members must often interact with Orion Township offices while conducting their business, from obtaining sign permits to scheduling construction inspections to connecting with the Planning and Zoning Commission. These positions and their functions within the township are crucial to the success of our economic growth and development. As an organization that supports the efforts of our business leaders, we're proud to help facilitate this forum so that our members and our community as a whole have a chance to hear from the candidates who seek to fill these elected positions. Tonight we will hear from candidates for the Trustee, Clerk, and Treasurer positions. Thank you to the candidates for agreeing to participate in this forum. As the election draws near, your time becomes a premium, so we appreciate you being here. I'd like to thank Orion Neighborhood Television for bringing you this forum live tonight. Ian, Joe, Tracy, and all the staff here at On TV consistently provide the viewers of Orion Township and the surrounding area with professional, high-quality programming. We're grateful for their ongoing support of chamber events and their commitment to this community. This forum is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters, Oakland area. Their expertise in facilitating and moderating forums such as this will ensure that tonight's forum will be conducted in a democratic and fair manner. Audience members are encouraged to submit questions to the candidates. Those of you viewing at home can also send your questions to oaccforum@gmail.com. Please help me welcome tonight's moderator, Jerry Burden, Voter Service Coordinator for the League of Women Voters, Oakland area. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Welcome to this forum for the Orion Township election. Today is June 21, 2016. This forum will be featuring the candidates who have filed for Clerk, Treasurer, and Trustee. Sponsor of this forum is the League of Women Voters, Oakland area, and the Orion Area Chamber of Commerce. I am Jerry Burden, President of the League of Women Voters. I am not a resident of this district. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, national, nonpartisan political organization. Our members do the trusted and hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we never endorse a candidate or political party, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues that keeps our community strong. As a League of Women Voters member, I have the opportunity to contribute in a leadership role such as this that has great impact on local, state, and national issues. If you're interested in learning how you can become similar issues, I would encourage you to pick up literature, information available here tonight, or visit our website at lwvoa.org. The League of Women Voters does not endorse any candidate or political party. Views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, and the sponsors take no responsibility. The format for this forum has been established by the League of Women Voters. We ask that the audience remain silent during the forum, turn off all cell phones and electronic devices. We ask that the candidates answer the questions with their views only and not to interrupt another candidate. The candidates will be answering questions submitted by the audience and screened for duplication and appropriateness by John McGarry, a League member. Paige Bill Canonis will be circulating with paper and pencils for your questions. Please turn in your questions to the pages. And the format is follows. We will begin with candidates for Trustee from now until 7:10. There are 6 Republican candidates and 1 Democratic candidate. Vote for 4. From 7:15 to 7:45 will we present the 2 candidates for Clerk, following at 7:50 to 8:20 by the 2 candidates for Treasurer. All candidates will be given 1 minute for opening statements in alphabetical order. Closing statements will be made in reverse order. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer each question in rotating order unless time is extended by the moderator. All candidates will be allowed equal time to answer the questions. Our timer is Judy Bateman, a league member. The candidates for trustee are Republicans, Brian Burney, Tony Cook, Michael Flood Jr., Neil Porter, Ron SLIWINSKI, and John Stiepel. Democrat Courtney Schaefer is not here tonight. We will begin our 1-minute opening statement with Mr. Burney.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity, so thank you to everyone who was involved with organizing this forum. My name is Brian Burney, and I'm running for Orion Township Trustee. I'm a proud husband and father of 4 to my wife, Kathy, and my 4 beautiful children, Caitlin, Kira, Brian, and Killian. We moved to Lake Orion 4 years ago, and I've loved every single minute of it. I'm a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, serving in Operation Enduring Freedom, of which I was awarded Marine of the Quarter while overseas. I'm also a local business owner. I own the Burney Directive. I'm the President and Chief Marketing Officer. We serve many clients locally and are a full-service marketing agency. We also participate and assist in numerous local events, to name a few: the Lake Orion Fireworks Association, Dragon on the Lake, LO-Palooza, Lake Orion's American Summer. I'm also the president of the Chamber of Commerce for 2 consecutive years. I'm also the parishioner of St. Joseph Catholic Church and a winner of the Elite 40 Under 40.
Thank you, Mr. Cook.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Tony Cook. I'm also running for the position of Orion Township Trustee. My family and I moved here in 2003, and one of the things that I immediately began to think about is the fact that the prior places that we lived while being transferred around, we always had the kind of the wave at your neighbor, and I was determined to become involved in the community once we arrived here. And so since then, what I've done is I've had an opportunity to be on several committees, currently serving on the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm involved with the Safety Path. I currently work with the Orion Fire Department also, and at one time served on the Environmental Services Committee. I'm involved in my neighborhood, and because my job requires me to travel, there are some things that I'd like to be involved with that I'm not able to, and thought this was an opportunity to get involved at a higher level than I had in the past. And I'd love your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flood.
Hello, I'm Trustee Michael Flood Jr. Mike. My wife Lillian and I are celebrating our 47th wedding anniversary. I have a daughter, Kristen, and 2 grandchildren, Austin and Shay. I'm a graduate of Lake Orion High School and attended OCC Auburn Hills Technology Engineering Campus and Oakland University while working 40 years at GM Truck, Pontiac plants, and various hourly and salary positions. I retired in 2006 as a skilled trades journeyman with a professional engineer's license. Like many other residents and families in our great community of Orion, Lake Orion, myself and family are also lifelong residents. We have proudly served our community as civic leaders, elected officials, and police and fire personnel. I bring to the Board of Trustees my vast experience and educational background to fully engage in board deliberations and board considerations of consensus making to serve the best interests of our residents and business owners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter.
Good evening. My name is Neil Porter. I have resided in Orion Township for 46 years. I'm married to my wife Lois for the last 53 years. I have a degree in management. I am retired from General Motors. I spent 10 years on the Orion Township Planning Commission. I raised 2 children and put them through the Orion school system. I'm the former president of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm a former vice president of my church board. I'm currently on the Paint Creek Trail Commission, and I'm also currently vice president of the Veterans Memorial. I currently serve on the Board of Trustees for the last 9 years. I'm passionate about Orion. I want to give back to my community and would appreciate your vote. Thank
you, Mr. SLIWINSKI.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for inviting us here tonight. I'm also a candidate for a trustee position. I'm a 10-year resident of Lake Orion, and I grew up in Detroit, and I said, you know, what I tell everybody is I fell in love with this community. I started coaching here about 17 years ago, and I've been a high school special ed teacher for the last 10 years, and you know, I've made this a point to make Lake Orion my home for my family, and I want to spend the rest of my life here, in my career here. Currently, my wife is an Orion resident. She grew up here, went to Lake Orion schools, is the supervisor at the alternative high school in the district. I have an 8-year-old son and 2 twin girls that are 16 months old. They keep us pretty busy. My involvement, my passion has always been to volunteer and help the community the best that I can. In the school district, I've been part of the Long Range Planning Committee. I have served as my HOA president in my subdivision the last 3 years, and I'd like to bridge a gap between some of the people that have been here for years and generations with some of the newer new homeowners that have moved into the township. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stiepel.
My name is John Steimel, and I have been your trustee now for the last 12 years and been on the Planning Commission for close to 2 decades now. So I've seen a lot of changes in Orion Township, some good things, some bad. But that's one of the things I have is a vast experience of the problems that the township faces all the time. Both of my children have gone through the Lake Orion schools and have now graduated and moved on. And it's been wonderful, and it was a wonderful life for them. And I continue to want to do that for people here, serving on the Board of Trustees. I think I bring balance to the board as being an outside. I'm an engineer by trade. That's what my full-time job is. And I try to bring that logic and balance to decisions that come before the board, that I want to hear about the facts. I want to weigh all those facts before I make a decision. And that's what I want to continue to do, because I think that's important that we have that balance on the board.
Thank you. That is ending of time for the opening statements. We will now begin the questions, and we will alternate in order. We will start first with Mr. Burney, and we'll get right to the meat of the program first. What will the widening of I-75 through Oakland County benefit us all?
Well, I think our community is a unique one where we can expect more tourism to come here, more people to use our amenities that we have. I know it's going to be problematic for a while. Obviously, we're going through a lot of road construction ourselves, but I see this as a great thing, especially for our community members that don't work in the community, to be able to get out and about and go to their jobs and get back home quickly. But I do believe that it will open up a pipeline for more revenue for the businesses, especially since we've seen such a big growth with restaurants and hospitality. So I think that'd be a good thing for all of us.
Thank you. Mr. Cook.
Okay. Well, I think one of the largest things that's going to occur is the additional development. As 75 is already a major thoroughfare, the ability to, once it's widened, it'll attract more people to begin to utilize it. And thus they'll begin to make more stops along the way, because you'll get people who are coming through who may see some of the signage, and that will draw them into Lake Orion or some of the larger big box stores in our neighboring community of Auburn Hills. Overall, I think what you're going to see is as was mentioned, some problems that occur initially, but as we begin to work out those logistics and figure out how to do things better, there'll be a continuous improvement process, and thus that continuous improvement will also improve the area of Lake Orion.
Thank you. Mr. Flood.
Well, I-75 was put back in when Eisenhower put the freeways in, and Orion Township is what expanded. All our northern suburbs have expanded because of 75 being put in. It runs along our southwest border, Joslin and Brown Road. Auburn Hills is fully developed over that already. We're looking at the township now at creating a corridor improvement authority along that Brown Road, which borders Auburn Hills and I-75. So that's where the township is right now today, trying to develop that commercial development in there. So as far as widening the road goes, it's already fully developed side. What's coming next in Orion Township is going to be the widening of Baldwin Road next year, and that's the southwest portion of the township, and also taking care of all that mining property on Brown Road. Thank
you. Mr. Porter.
I think the business opportunities in Orion Township is going to get a big boost from this, naturally development too. But another line is that the driving time for our residents is going to be reduced, and that's going to give them more time to enjoy the great park system that we have in Orion that we've invested a lot of money into, and it's available to our residents.
Thank you. Mr. SLIWINSKI.
Well, obviously there's going to be some things that are out of our control, even as a township governing body. So looking at the opportunities that widening I-75 would bring, try to find positives. We're in a unique situation, going north on I-75. There's big gaps between exits, and then all of a sudden you get to University, and then you have Lapeer, Joslin, Baldwin. All feed right into Lake Orion, those three main exits right there. As we mentioned, Auburn Hills has shown a lot of development, and I think we need some proper planning just to make sure that this type of traffic, what has drawn people to Lake Orion, we keep that consistent and within our means, keep within our infrastructure, that it's manageable. There will be some things more out of our control. Some of our northern neighbors, a lot of people are starting to drive through, going to Oxford, Metamora, Lapeer. So we have to be cooperative and work with our neighboring communities as well.
Thank you. Mr. Steimel.
Well, with anything like this, there's good and bad. This is the second major expansion, and it seems like I-75 is always being expanded, no matter where you go. In a lot of ways, I wish we'd work harder so more people who live in the township could work in the township and stay here all the time. But the simple fact of the matter, about 62% of our residents commute outside of the township to get to their jobs. And let's face it, I-75 is probably the main artery they take. So having a little better commute is in that way pretty good for all those, because what we want them to be able to get their commute, come home, and get home earlier so they can enjoy all the good things once they get home here in Orion Township, and that's what we kind of really want, and go to our restaurants and visit our parks, as Trustee Porter said. So we're hoping it helps them, and they're a little less stressed when they get home.
Thank you. Before I ask the next question, I'd just like to remind the candidates, and this happens at every forum I go to, you don't have to look at me. I don't live here and I don't vote here. You want to look at that camera, those are the people that are going to vote for you. And it happens everywhere I go. Thank you for the attention anyway. Next question, we'll start with Mr. Cook. What are or would you do to improve the innovation and technology in the township office you seek?
Well, in the office of the trustee, I think they're there to bring ideas, and in terms of innovation, I think having that ability to embrace technology such as Facebook and Twitter and those types of things, and making your email available is a good baseline to begin to have those open lines of dialogue. But I also think it's a matter of potentially having possibly some type of town hall where people could come and talk and speak with the actual the elected official and give them their ideas, because some people aren't embracing technology. And so what you do is your innovation actually embraces the past while also holding on to what our current options are. The other thing would just to begin to listen to people and some of the entrepreneurial ideas that they might have, or their suggestions to make it a better office.
Thank you. Mr. Flood.
This township board and the previous township boards have gone a long way already. The technology, in fact, this forum tonight, it's on TV studio. We have the board books now the clerk's office has done. We have a website now that's up and running. We've seen these changes in the last, 8 to 10 years, which is great. Now people can sit home on their TV or on their computer in Florida and watch this. I think we need to keep moving forward when new technology comes available. I think a big one is getting more things on our website so that you can link things to it, make it more friendlier, especially in the building department when we want building permits. Matter of fact, we were at the OCC public hearing here the other day for the widening of Baldwin Road, and the resident said, how come I can't link the township with the road commission or with MDOT? Got a hold of Supervisor Barnett immediately. Within 15 minutes, he had that link available. So that's the stuff we need feedback from our residents, what they need, what they want to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Porter.
I think that we have done a pretty fair job of keeping up with technology, but we need to keep on top of it because technology moves so fast. But without technology, just in our old-fashioned way of doing business, I think we need to work closer with our surrounding communities and the village in particular to keep up with the latest news and things that are going on to keep our community up to date.
Thank you. Mr. SLIWINSKI.
In improving technology, I've used it quite a bit with with ONTV and keeping up on meetings. Even when I'm cutting grass, I'll just pop in the headphones and stream an old meeting. The two main parts would be communication and transparency. With transparency, people want to know what's going on in their community. They want to know what's going on, with all the trustees, with all the different committees and departments, and so just sharing as much information as possible. The board book has been very helpful, but continuing to expand on ideas like that, like how are people going to access information? The app has been, very useful. I've downloaded. I've been, asking people to download the app, go on Twitter. Mr. Barnett is, likes to use Twitter a lot as well. And with the communication part is making sure that the younger generation, the kids, the people that we want to stay in the community and live here, raise their children here as well, is to make sure they're reaching out to them, and some of those types of, technology means of communication with Twitter and Facebook and useful.
Thank you, Mr. STEIMEL.
Well, I think some people have mentioned Township's made some pretty good strides, make it a little easier for people to keep an eye on us and be a little more transparent. That's a good thing. But now we need to take the next step. And what I mean for that is, in the Township, there's a lot of things that you can't see, and I mean literally can't see, that I think now we need to work on, and that's where technology can be. As we can see, we should have learned a lesson. It's a little thing out there about Flint and their water system. That's something that's underground we can't really see. So I really think coming up in the next few years, the Township has to think a lot about asset management and how do we monitor, how do we look at this stuff, and let's bring technology to the fold. I should be able to go online, go in, click some pictures, and literally flip the Township over so I can see our infrastructure and sewers and water and different things like that, and making sure that they're functioning properly. And people can look at it and see too. That's what they should be able to do.
Mr. Burney.
This is a great question. This is right up my alley. In my business, the Burney Directive, this is what we do all day. We're involved in innovation and technology. We run over 20 Facebook pages, Twitter pages, Instagram pages, Google+, etc. We develop websites. We know how important it is to communicate to people through this technology. With the influx of younger people moving to our community, this is how they communicate. This is how they look for information. So as the Township, we need to be the source of truth. We need to have ease of use so people can get there quickly, efficiently, and in a way, shape, and form that they want to see it in. Also, with that said, we need to make sure that we also have the capabilities for the older generation that aren't so in tune with that technology. But technology, to me, is a very important thing, and I think that's the best way to communicate with our people.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Mr. Flood. Who is currently endorsing and funding your run for office?
I just had a fundraiser, and I see a lot of familiar faces in the audience tonight. I abide by the financial campaign laws. Matter of fact, I think on July 17th is a close of books, and I think we have to have that in by the 22nd, I believe, of July, and that will be all online. You can go on the county election website, and you can see every candidate who contributes to every candidate in the Oakland County. So it'll be all there for the public viewing. The local grassroots, they keep more thumbs on us than they do the national guys. And they got the big bucks. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Porter.
My campaign is being funded by just local residents and small amounts. There's been no large donations by any business or anything like that. I'm not tied to them or anything. Local politicians and leaders have endorsed me, including Mr. Gengel that's here tonight, and my fellow board members. Most of those are supporting me.
Thank you. Mr. SLIWINSKI.
So far, my campaign has been very grassroots and individuals. There's no large groups that I've sought out because I want to represent the people of the community. And when I say that I want to represent the people, I honestly mean that. So now I have parents, alumni, neighbors, young families, people I've known have lived here for years, asking how they can help and support and make donations and anything they can do. So I'm very proud of that fact, and I really want to represent the community as a whole, whether it's Orion Township, the village, and just make sure that everybody has a voice.
Thank you. Mr. STEIMEL.
Similar. Mostly it's just people I know, a few and stuff. I haven't taken any real large donations other than myself. I'm my biggest contributor, and that's the kind of way I like it. I am blessed enough that I have a good job that I can afford to do that. I think it helps me maintain my somewhat independence, and the fact I have another job is part of what I say. It helps with that. I don't answer to anybody, but anybody who wants to donate to me, I'm glad I'll take it. It's expensive. And like I say, I think it is kind of important to try to keep that balance out there as much as you can, and keep your stuff clean so that you can sit there and make decisions like, and it's a natural thing, and unfortunately that's the way it is in politics. The more money you take in, you're naturally, I don't care what they say, you're going to give second thoughts to people who are big contributors. And like I said, I don't think anybody here, we're lucky enough, we're small enough, it's not too bad. Although the mail is kind of expensive. But.
Thank you. Mr. Burney.
In terms of fundraising, I had one fundraiser, and that was in local business owners and community members. That's about the extent of fundraising. In terms of endorsements, I know Chris Barnett has endorsed me. Some sitting board members have. I don't think anyone at this table, though. But you know, in terms of, you know, just the business owners after that, and friends and colleagues in the community, they've been very supportive, and I'm very thankful for that. So I hope to get even more moving forward, and hopefully get their vote in November, in August, more importantly.
Thank you. Mr. Cook.
Thank you. As far as fundraising goes, again, I'm similar to Mr. STEIMEL, where it's a self-funded campaign. I have spoken with folks and they've said, well, how do I contribute? And I'm a little bit standoffish for that, but I need to get better at that in terms of accepting help from people and accepting those donations, because fundraising is going to be very, very important in terms of being able to get the word out about myself as a candidate. In terms of endorsements, I've been encouraged by several elected politicians. However, there's no formal endorsement of any sort.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Mr. Porter. What are your positions on the 4-county rapid transit millage?
That's a very simple one. I am most definitely against it. I am not in favor of paying into a system that Orion Township cannot use. It would kill our NOTA, which we have in place right now, which I think is doing a much better job than what the system that's laid out the way I read it. So that I have a clear answer on.
Thank you. Mr. SLIWINSKI.
Currently, as what I've read about it and looked into it and heard about it, I would not be in favor of that right now, because you know, I'm looking at what would benefit their community, our taxpayers. You know, how much are they going to pay into this, and how much would they benefit from? So at this time, I would be not in favor.
Thank you. Mr. STEIMEL.
You know, I'm not heartless. I understand regional transportation. There's a lot of people and stuff, but I have to look. I represent Orion Township, and when I look at that current plan, Orion Township is kind of left out again, and that's just the way it is. Now, we would end up as being people who live here and pay taxes are going to contribute quite heavily to that regional transport system. So it just doesn't seem to make sense for us to support a transport plan where we're going to contribute a lot but get very minimal benefits. And as we said, it actually would kind of hurt because they take away the opt-out plan of the local regional transportation plan that we've tried to put in place to help people around here to get around. So I think it could be a little better, but of course those things grow too. If you try to help everybody, it's going to grow. That's the way they are. But right now, I can't say I support it.
Thank you. Mr. Burney.
As of right now, I don't support it. I think we have, as a community, other things that we need to worry about. So I'm looking out for our specific needs first and foremost, and making sure that our priorities are met before that one.
Thank you. Mr. Cook.
Too, I'm in a position where I would not support it. I've had an opportunity to see what the NOTA system currently does, and I think it's very, very effective. And so, again, not wanting to seem like the other counties don't matter, it just doesn't fit for Orion residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Flood.
Adamantly opposed. This was on the board agenda last night under pending business. Our board unanimously sent this to our attorney to draft a resolution opposing Orion Township's participation in this process. They took out the opt-out to opt out of this for all the northern Oakland County. Oxford and I believe Addison have already drafted a resolution. So at our next board meeting, we're waiting for our attorney and Supervisor Burnett to bring that back to the board. I fully support against this. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, we will start with Mr. SLIWINSKI. If elected, will you be accessible to the community on a regular basis? Will you have time to address your constituent needs? Does your outside employment allow you time for city business?
This is currently something that has been a family discussion with me and my wife and my family and my kids. But yeah, yes, definitely, most definitely. If anything I do 100%. And looking at my current responsibilities, you know, with my job, coaching, the HOA and other committees I've been on and still a part of, and you know, within the school district, I would, you know, obviously look to see what I would have to cut back on, because I want to make sure that I do give my full 100% to the community, to my constituents, and represent them. I've always been very accessible. You can ask any of the staff within the district, any of my neighbors, even other HOA groups. You know, I've tried to share information as much as possible, use the technology. I mean, a lot of times it's a lot harder to get to people in person, but I'm always accessible text, Facebook, online, any way possible, email, so I can stay in constant communication and respond.
Thank you. Mr. STEIMEL.
I think people would know this is one area, even though, yes, I have a full-time job, I'm not around during the day, but I spend a lot of time. I've been in a lot of people's, my best places, working across them from dining room table to explain to them what's going on. I walk communities all the time, not just during elections. When there's some issue coming out, you'll probably see me out there, because I think sometimes you have to put eyes to it. It's not enough to just look at it on a piece of paper or something, or hear what people have to say. You need to go there. And when you're there, people will come out and they'll talk to you. That's, to me, what we really should be doing. That's the best way to work with the people here, is to be right out there and let them, and let me tell you, sometimes it's not easy, but I think it's part of the job and what you should be doing. And I always welcome it. I encourage people to constantly call me, and we'll set up something. I frequent a lot of our businesses and do the discussions there, so we can do lots of those things, and I want to continue doing that.
Thank you. Mr. Burney.
You can reach me by phone, text, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google, email, my website, or just come and say hi to me when I'm out and about, because I'm always in the community. I'm a local business owner, so I'm always here, and most of my clients, 80% of my clients are here and chamber members. So I am not hard to get a hold of, and currently every time I park somewhere I put my campaign sign up so you can actually see wherever I'm at during the day. So I'm accessible.
Thank you. Mr. Cook.
I do currently work outside of the township itself, and one of the things that I would how I would make myself more available is, again, to look at email, to look at utilizing the telephone, but more importantly also meeting with people in the evenings and having that accessibility.
Thank you. Mr. Porter. I'm sorry, Mr. Flood.
We get our mustaches mixed up. But he's better looking. Got nicer cars too. Having the advantage of being retired 10 years from after doing 40 years at General Motors, I consider myself a 24/7 hands-on trustee, and the township supervisor knows that. I'm a phone call away. I'm 3 minutes from the township hall. I'm on numerous volunteer committees. I'm the township alternate non-voting member for SEMCOG. I serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals. I serve as a volunteer on the Orion Township Environmental Resource Committee, Safety Path Committee, Election Committee. I attend all the Orion Area Chamber of Commerce luncheons and breakfasts. It's difficult when you work, I agree. But I've had the opportunity to volunteer, and I've also negotiated numerous union contracts with the township, which are done during the day. And I look forward to volunteering. It feels good to give back to my community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Porter.
I'm employed in the township, and my business is open. People come in there all the time. I'm probably the most readily available person on the township board. I have a track record of being available, there's no doubt about it. And I serve on several committees, and I have had the time to do that, and I intend to keep the time to do it.
Thank you. The next question, we will start with Mr. Stiepel. Would you support and champion an effort to require the township to include any local companies in all bids for goods and services?
Well, I would hope that we already include local companies and try to encourage them to bid on things. It's hard to say. You put the proposals out there and the bids out there and hope that people do bid on them. I can't say that you got to always look. We're looking at the whole picture too. It's not just one thing. I think we try to give extra consideration when it's a local company whenever we can, but you can't just go on only that. Again, that's back to that balance thing. We have to do multiple things, but I've always tried to push us for doing that. Can't we find local? We went through that a while ago, just our local supplies. You know, why can't we go through somebody local? And we went through a whole bunch, and some of that all changed, you know, because there were people available. Sometimes we just don't look. We've been doing it the same way for so long that it stays that way. But yeah, we'll continue to try to encourage more local businesses.
Thank you. Mr. Burney.
I absolutely would. At the chamber, we live and breathe local. You know, that's our passion, is to help each other out, help the local businesses, help them grow and succeed. We have record numbers now at the chamber. We have over 400 members, which was part of our 5-year plan that we achieved in year 2. It's an absolute no-brainer for me. I would do that. I understand, trust me of all people, I do understand that there's better deals and conveniences online. But I think that, you know, helping out that local business and working with them, creating efficiencies would help benefit both parties at the end. So I 125% support that.
Thank you. Mr. Cook.
Yes, I would support that, and I think that promotes growth in the community, because if you're working with local businesses, that money begins to turn over in the community multiple times. And so I think it's a great idea to begin to encourage and utilize local businesses.
Thank you. Mr. Flood.
Agree with everyone on the local businesses. Depending on how large the projects are, our major projects are water and sewer, and those are not just your everyday construction companies can do those multi-million-dollar projects. I know we're in a bid process. I know the village goes through this problem too, having a hard time. There's a municipal bid process you can put your stuff out on, and I know the full-time employees utilize that. What a lot of people like to know is that a lot of our local companies donate their time and efforts to a lot of our nonprofits and a lot of our youth things, and they don't get the recognition they deserve for all the great charity work they do in this township. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Porter.
I have been a definite advocate of this for a long time. In particular, our vehicles that the township purchases, we're not purchasing them within the township, because for some reason they can't seem to be competitive with the countywide contracts that are presented to us. But I've tried to work with the dealers. I've tried to get something worked out on this, and I intend to stay on this. But another important thing that needs to be considered here is when we're buying stuff for the township is U.S. made. I don't like this foreign stuff, and I like to stick with the U.S. stuff, and I intend to be a constant advocate for that.
Thank you. Mr. SLIWINSKI.
I would echo pretty much everybody else's comments here about, you know, trying to encourage and seek out local involvement, local businesses, you know, just keeping an eye, make sure there's not any favoritism or anything else going on, but definitely want to keep business here, you know, keep the people that chose to do business within the township, within the community, and, you know, most likely might live here, to keep that in-house as well.
Thank you. The next question, we will start with Mr. Burney again. Where do you stand in regard to current tax rate for Lake Orion?
I mean, I don't see a problem with it. So I don't have any complaints or otherwise regarding that. I know we've got some important things coming up. The renewal of the safety and police, or fire and police, I should say, as well as the sinking fund coming up, which I do support. So that will increase with the sinking fund and the renewal with the fire and police. So, you know, as it stands right now, I'm okay with it, but I do know there's going to be some increases with that sinking fund.
Thank you. Mr. Cook.
Well, anytime you have a community, things cost. And in terms of the quality of life here in Orion Township, relative to the taxation rate, which I believe is either the lowest or the second lowest in Oakland County, I mean, it's a wonderful value. And so, yes, people don't like to pay taxes, but at the same time, it's about quality of life. And so I have no issue at all with our current tax rates.
Thank you. Mr. Flood.
The tax rate pertaining to the township, which this township board has control over, the only two that we've had to really watch over are safety millages, our police and fire. Back in 2008, we went through an economic downturn. We lost 40% of our taxable rate. We had to lay off 5 Oakland County Sheriff deputies. We had to bite the bullet on updating our fire department for many, many years, using outdated equipment, the safety of our firefighters. Fortunately, we were prudent enough and did a good enough job to let the voter know that the necessity of this, and they came through and did those millages. Right now on the ballot are 2 critical safety for police and fire. This is not a tax increase, it's a renewal. So, and mind you, we are still not out of the woods yet from recovering from the 2008 economic downturn. The county says it'll be sometime in the 2020s before we get back to 2008 taxable levels. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Porter.
I do have a problem with the tax rate. I do support the fire and police millage renewals, but during the downturn, we had a problem at the township. We were not producing enough money to pay our bills, and we increased the tax rate. And that got us through some hard times. But now it's time to roll that back to where it was. It's not time to continue with the higher rate, and that this needs to be done, and this is an important issue.
Thank you. Mr. SLIWINSKI.
With the growing community comes extra stress on infrastructure and more needs, and we've seen that as more people have moved into the community. With the police and fire millages, those are renewals, and it's going to keep the same there. The one I've heard a lot about is a sinking fund and being close with the schools. I can say I'm 100% behind that, because in 1994 there was the 1994 Proposal A. The trade-off for lower property taxes was that communities were then responsible to support their schools' infrastructure with a bond or sinking fund. And this year that's going to be the sinking fund. The township survey stressed in 2 different questions. The answers were, by far, the school district was the #1 reason that people chose to live in Lake Orion or were coming to buy houses and build in Lake Orion, and I think we need to support that. I know the village has its own taxes. They have other services as well, but with our current tax base in Lake Orion, I think we need. Oh, sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. STEIMEL.
Well, I think you'll find for me, we're always taxed too much, and sometimes I think that hurts a lot of things. It's better to let people decide for themselves what to do with their money rather than we take it and tell them what to do. I'm always supportive, though, of groups that want to come and put things on the ballot and let people decide that way rather than I make that decision. I'm always going to support that and let people do that. I've been here long enough that there was a period of time, based on current laws, there's how much a township can take in taxes, and we were at the max for a long time. And in actuality, what we did is we were taking in more money than we were using. So I made a push and got everybody convinced, and that's when we cut the tax rate here a little bit. We were taking in too much. And then, yes, recently during the downturn, we took that back up to what we're allowed to take. But I will always be the slowest one to say we're going to do stuff and it's going to take more taxes, because I would rather people decide on their own what to do with their money.
Thank you. The next question, we will start with Mr. Cook. Do we have any unfunded liabilities to current and retired employees? If so, how will we fund those?
Well, to answer that question, I am not or have not had privy to see those records if we do have any unfunded liabilities. And so at this point, I mean, there are ways when it comes to accounting that you can begin to do those, and one of those is to begin to reallocate funds that are collected in terms of from your current revenues. But yeah, because I'm not aware of that, I'm going to leave that question and stop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Flood.
Having worked with the various union contracts with our clerk and our DPW groups, we have no defined retirement plan at the township. They have, after so many years of service, they get a medical benefit. They don't get a pension. We don't have that legacy cost tied. They are into a 401k. We do a match on a 401k after so many years of service. So fortunately, through negotiations, that's how it's worked. And we drove down they had the best, and Mr. Porter would agree on this, they had the best gold-plated health care benefits there was. Those are down now. They've gotten back into the state law now for the 80-20 rule, and they're paying their fair share into the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter.
I serve on the union negotiating committee, and we have got no unfunded balances like that to take care of, and that's the way it should be. And Mr. Flood, I think, has summarized that pretty much up on where we're at on that.
Thank you, Mr. SLIWINSKI.
And I've heard in the news across the state there's been a lot of talk of the unfunded liabilities, and I'm not aware. And thank you guys for help clarifying that there are no unfunded liabilities there. But I mean, every year you could always look at the budget, and it should be reviewed and to see like what's outdated, what could be reallocated, as mentioned, and redone in the future as well. So I think the budget could be looked at every year, but thankfully there's no unfunded liabilities.
Thank you, Mr. STEIMEL.
Well, currently we don't, and that's the way I'd like to keep it. We were lucky. There came a time when this came to a head, previous boards, and some people will know, and that's when you get into negotiations. That's when you get employee negotiations, is the union thing. And it's that difference between defined benefit and defined contribution. And luckily, we had some people with a business background who understood that difference and what was happening and where the trends were, and we held very firm on that. Now, we took a lot of heat because, we're not treating our employees fairly and stuff. Yes, we were, but we were looking out for the long-term health of this community and had to hold firm. And I'm glad we did. And of course, just as we expected, the trend has now changed, and that's why we don't have these unfunded liabilities that are going to hurt us down the road. And I want to keep it that way.
Thank you, Mr. Burney.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Do we have any unfunded liabilities to current and retired employees? If so, how will we fund them?
Okay, so they answered the question, so no need to pile on.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Mr. Flood. Do you favor the current fireworks law? If not, would you repeal or amend it?
I would repeal the fireworks law. It's serving on the ZBA. The first year the law went into effect, it was chaos around here. Fortunately, the last couple of years it's kind of quieted down a little bit. All we're doing is capturing that tax that Indiana and Ohio was getting. We just issued 2 permits to allow cells on Lapeer Road, one at Kmart and one down on Sue Turpin's property. We told the guy when he came in from Indiana, U.S. Fireworks, hey, 24 is going to be under construction. I don't know what your sales are going to be like this year. Well, I don't know if he's going to see you sell any fireworks down there with the way 24 is. But I adamantly oppose trying to reap that money in just to put some more money in the state coffers, and the residents and our animals have to suffer for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Porter.
Our state legislature has thrown us under the bus on this one. It's an income source for them, and the headaches are stuck with us. And there's no way this whole thing should be thrown out.
Thank you, Mr. SLIWINSKI.
I agree that it should be repealed, and I'm not supportive of it.
Mr. Steimel.
Yeah, it's another favor they did for us. It's great for the state. They got a lot more revenue, and basically we got almost like the tax and shaft. And the people have to suffer, and there's a limit to what we can do about it. I mean, I guess it's glad they're getting a little more revenue, but I don't see the benefit for us, and there's a limit to what we can do too, and we've tried to do that and tweak it somewhat to control it, but there's only so much we can do.
Thank you. Mr. Burney.
Wow, bunch of party poopers up here. I am not opposed to it. I believe in celebrating and our nation's independence. Again, I'm a veteran, so I like to think when I was overseas and when I was sitting in a desert somewhere that people were having fun back home lighting off fireworks. So I was actually happy when they passed that law. So I get it. People get out of control. They'll be dealt with, and I'm sure we get a lot of annoying phone calls, and that's just the way it is. But done with good taste, I'm 100% supportive of it.
Thank you, Mr. Cook.
Well, in terms of the revenue that's drawn in from it, I think it's a positive, but again, the noise factor is a secondary or an unintended consequence. And so when it comes to repealing the law, I don't think it should be repealed. I think it's a matter of really kind of saying, how can we work with this where it's not a nuisance and it is a celebration?
Thank you. This will be the last question prior to the closing remarks, and we will start with Mr. Porter. If elected, what is the one initiative that you would introduce or attempt to pass while serving as a trustee?
The one initiative.
Most important issue towards the township.
Being able to work with the surrounding communities, I think, is very important, and I think that's the one issue that we're weak in. I believe you've got to see your weaknesses if you intend to do anything about them, and I think that's one of our weaknesses, and I think we need to concentrate in that area.
Thank you, Mr. SLIWINSKI.
I'd say to continue focusing on our development, protecting the green space, but also being conscious of, development and with the new revenue that does come in with businesses and the new residents that move into the township. And with that, Lake Orion and Orion Township was not built and not designed like the grid system over on the east side where you have constant traffic and square miles of everything. So we need to be conscious of that, following the 5-year plan, master plan. I know it's a living document and it can be adjusted here and there depending on what gets approved in development, but I think we really just have to be aware of what has drawn people to Lake Orion, what has kept people here, and continuing to focus on that. It's going to be a delicate balance with that, protecting all these parks and open land, and also, being aware that there is going to be some development.
Thank you, Mr. STEIMEL.
I will continue to advocate for limiting how much money the township spends. I'm not a big, you know me, I'm not a big advocate of what I call shiny baubles, where we build these great big towers to our own satisfaction and leave the cost to other people to deal with. And I will continue doing that. I don't think we need to spend everything just because revenues have gone up a little bit. You put it away so that when times are tough, we were lucky. We had some that we could maintain services in here even when revenue went down during the tough times. We need to continue like that. And then, of course, there's no reason for us to keep taking, that if we can operate without it, we should roll it back and let the people keep their money.
Thank you. Mr. Burney.
Number one is safety. Nothing else matters unless we're a safe community. And that means a strong police force and strong firefighting force. Everything we just talked about doesn't matter one bit unless we're all safe. So I will do everything in my power if elected to maintain the high standards that we've already set forth and continue to build on that.
Thank you. Mr. Cook.
Yes. One of the things that I look at is, again, it's along the lines of safety, it's the township's current interaction, if you will, with the village. And the village being our neighbor, if you will, but yet and still being a part of the township, there's some issues going on in terms of water supply and use of funds that are being allocated to the village. And for us to begin to work with them, or continue to work with them, and get that on one plane, if you will, so that we're all working towards similar goals and having the Orion Township to be a great place to live. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Flood.
I want to piggyback on Tony's remark there. I think we have a very serious concern with our village. And the village and the township are the same. Village residents are township residents. Even though we have two separate governments, they are in very serious trouble financially with their water and sewer. We're going to start setting up joint meetings. It was on our board agenda this last night, with the village and the Orion. We need to work together to help each other out instead of being opposed to each other. Because what hurts one is going to hurt the other. And we need to work together as one, as all Orionites. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the questions. We will now have closing statements in reverse order, and we will start with Mr. Stiepel.
Well, thank you, everybody. As always, it's the volunteers in this community that make everything great, to be honest with you. They do more good than us people who sit on the board or anything. And I like to keep encouraging that. Not big on slogans, but I guess if you had to sum up what am I going to be for, it's managed growth. Managed growth. Now that has a number of issues. Managed growth is the most obvious. I'm going to continue to advocate that we stick to our master plan and watch how we use what land we have left and try not to overdevelop. I don't look at our success by how many houses we build. I look at the quality of the community and how that's working. And let's face it, we all know a lot of our infrastructure is under stress right now, and so we can only do so much, and we have to manage our growth with that. That also means manage growth within the township itself, within our budgets, how we work with our money and control that. And also, that also gets all the way down into the ordinances that we put into place, and we need to manage that and how much restrictions we're putting on people and businesses.
Thank you. Mr. SLIWINSKI.
Again, I'd like to thank ONTV and League of Women's Voters for inviting us here and giving us that chance and an opportunity to express what we think and let everybody know who we are as people. I strongly believe in this community. I said I grew up and I lived in a couple different areas, and I said I fell in love with this place. I fell in love with Orion, fell in love with the schools, the people, the kids, the parents, the business owners. And I think over the last 17 years that I've been involved, that those people I've come across, those that I've either taught, coached, parents, grandparents I've met at games, that they are going to be my strongest advocates. I can go around and talk to anybody and everybody and everybody here, but I really feel strongly that the work that I've done, the relationships that I've made, are going to help carry me through and be a representative for this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Porter.
I believe that the government of Orion Township should be run like a business. I believe in 8 hours work for 8 hours pay, and if you don't give it to me, I'll ask for your resignation. I've been known to do that. Less government is good. There is no let up in the appetite for the government has for your tax dollars. We need transparency that builds trust in our community and trust in our government. I am a watchdog of your tax dollars. Some of our check and balance systems at the township need some work. I'm in favor of top-notch police and fire, which I believe we have, and I want to continue that. We need workable fire hydrants in the township and the village. We need fair treatment for the village and good parks to raise our kids in. I am applying for the job of trustee for Orion Township. My name is Neal Porter. Vote for me.
Thank you. Mr. Flood.
I'm asking for your vote and support on the Republican ticket to continue to serve in the best interest of all 38,000 Orion and Lake Orion residents. Please visit my Facebook page at facebook.com, Michael Flood Jr., and LinkedIn page at linkedin.com, Mike Flood Jr. Serving as your trustee, I stand on my proven record, a trustee of action, not just words. If you talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. In closing, I wish to thank the League of Women Voters, Oakland area, the Orion Area Chamber of Commerce, Orion Neighborhood Television, and the local residents in attendance this evening, providing opportunity towards informing and educating the voters. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cook.
Okay. Well, first off, thank you to the League of Women's Voters and for this opportunity to present at this candidate forum, or participate, I should say. When it comes to Lake Orion, and we all drive in and we see the slogan that says, or the motto, if you will, "Where living's a vacation." I think that's one of those exceptional things that when it comes to coming into the township, you feel as if the weight of the world is kind of lifted off you when you get here. And I would like to see that continue. I know we've got a lot of growth, but that growth is what comes with progress. As you do something well, people are attracted to you, and then that causes stresses on your infrastructure. But most importantly, we're managing those things as they come along. And so you'd like to kind of keep the jewel to yourself, but at the same time, you have to. We're going to share it, and it's going to require us to manage that growth and enjoy ourselves here in Orion Township. I'm asking for your vote. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Burney.
It's ironic that I'm in marketing because I'm not going to give you a catchy slogan right now based on my campaign. As well as I don't believe that we should be, throwing ideas out there that we can't back up. I believe in independent thinking and not a fabricated team approach that you see during a election season. Because at the end of the day, we all have to make our own decisions that are at the betterment of the community. We are elected not to make enemies or friends, but decisions. So you have to understand that you're not going to make everyone happy, but you need to do it for the betterment of the community. I have served in numerous capacities, from serving my country to serving as coach for my 3-year-old soccer team, but I've excelled at every single level that I've been at. So in August and then in November, I ask for your vote for Brian Burney for Orion Township Trustee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'll take a short break and I'll return you to the Director of the Chamber of Commerce.
Gentlemen, thank you for participating today in this forum. I wish you well in the upcoming election, and thank you so much for being here. Please stay tuned. We have a short message from Orion Township Supervisor Chris Barnett and some information on the ballot proposals coming up.
Okay, we need to change spots quickly. Leave your microphone.
Hello, I'm Chris Barnett, your Orion Township Supervisor, and I have had the honor and privilege of serving our community for the last 4 years. I want to take a minute just to tell you a little bit about what we've been up to for the last 4 years and give you a little picture of where we're going in the next 4. Like I said, I was first elected to Orion Township Supervisor in 2012, and it has been a wild ride. I've never imagined having so much fun at a job and also being so busy. When I go to the classrooms in our community, I always tell the students 2 things: that their parents are my boss, and I have the most interesting and amazing job that they could ever imagine. And I really do feel that way. I love our community. I chose to live here 14 years ago, and I don't plan on ever leaving anytime soon. So let me just tell you a few of the things that we've been able to do over the last 4 years as you have entrusted me as your leader. First off, it's all been about efficiency. We have done so much from top to bottom in Township Hall to make sure we're spending your dollars wisely. One of the first things we did is we changed our healthcare provider, and we really can thank our employees for that. It was not a simple change, but just that change alone saved the township nearly $300,000 annually. All of our employees still got all their treatments, got to see the same doctors, and thanks to them and their willingness, we were able to save you, our taxpayers, more money. So what did we do with some of those savings? Well, we've revamped and completely redesigned our website. We launched the first ever Orion Township mobile application that is continuing to grow. We purchased Camp Agawam right on Clarkson Road. We had a great opportunity with the Boy Scouts of America to purchase 143 acres of absolute paradise. And if you haven't set foot there, you need to do that soon. So many of the projects that we have undertaken in the last 4 years have been directed by you, our residents. And like I stated, I take my direction from you. You are my boss. I don't take that lightly. And to that end, last summer we thought, what better way to understand what our residents want than to just ask you, right? How crazy and simple is that concept? So we did. We did our first ever community-wide survey, and the results were really astounding. We had over 1,200 responses, and what we've done since then is that has charted our course not only for this past year, but for the next 4. As you may or may not know, I am running unopposed in the 2016 election, so whether you like it or not, I will be your supervisor until the year 2020. But that doesn't mean we're slowing down. That doesn't mean we're taking anything for granted. I will continue to give 100% every single day to the residents of this community. Some of the other ideas that I have been kicking around but just haven't had quite enough chance to implement are all geared towards technology and making your experience with Township Hall even that much easier and better. We also want to continue to grow the reason that people chose our community to live, and that's our great parks and recreation. Did you know that we have 42 lakes in our community, that's just 36 square miles, that are over 5 acres large. 42 lakes in 36 square miles. We also have some of the best parkland in the entire state. So to that end, we have a lot of great ideas and concepts in what we want to bring to our parks. So what can you expect in the next couple of years here? Well, roads, and more roads. Obviously, we're living in in the construction season of Lapeer Road this year, and I can just tell you that once we get through it this November, we will have a much better thoroughfare of Lapeer Road. Next spring, Baldwin Road kicks off, a 4-lane boulevard from essentially I-75 all the way up to Walden, and it's going to be a big pain, and it's going to require a lot of your patience. But once that road is completed in 2018, we're going to have a walkable, beautiful corridor on Baldwin Road. Thank you for entrusting me in this important position in our community. I am truly grateful for the opportunity and cannot wait for the next 4 years of exciting things to come. It's your job now to put 6 other members of our township board in place to serve with me over the next 4 years, and I am telling you, we have a lot to do. So please do your homework and make your vote count. Thanks again for your time, and thanks for living in the best community in Michigan.
On August 2nd, Orion Township citizens will be asked to vote on several upcoming proposals. The Oakland County Zoological Authority is asking to renew a previously approved millage to provide revenue for an accredited zoological institution. The proposed millage will be asking for the same amount of 0.1 mils on all taxable property in the county, equaling about 10 cents per every $1,000 of taxable value. The tax levy would be in place for 10 years from 2018 to 2027. The Orion Township Fire Millage is asking for 1.984 mils in the span of 4 years, beginning December 2016. The millage would go toward providing fire protection services, maintaining the fire department, hiring staff, and the purchase of equipment and buildings for the township and the village. If the tax levy is authorized, a property with a $50,000 taxable value would be taxed $99.20. The Orion Township Police Millage is proposing a levy of up to 2.9885 mils during the span of 4 years beginning December 2016. Millage funds would go toward providing police protection, personnel costs, and operating costs in both the township and the village. If the millage is passed, a property with a taxable value of $50,000 will be taxed $149.43. The Lake Orion Community Schools are proposing a building and site sinking fund tax to levy 2 mils for 10 years from July 1st, 2016 to June 30th, 2026. The tax dollars received would go toward repairs and making improvements to the school district facilities. Funds from this tax cannot be used for operating expenses, maintenance, or employee salaries. If the millage is authorized, it would collect approximately $3,390,000 during the 2016 year. Be sure to head out to your designated polling location on August 2nd to cast your vote on these proposals. For more information about your polling location, visit oriontownship.org and navigate to the Clerk's office link under Government Departments. There you will find contact numbers, polling locations, and a precinct boundary map to direct you where to vote. Or call the Clerk's office at 248-391-0304, extension 104.
Hi, and welcome back to the 2016 Orion Township Candidates Forum. Joining us now for this segment are the clerk position candidates, well, actually our current Orion Township clerk, Penny Schultz, and candidate Jen Zielinski. Jerry?
Thank you. The candidates for clerk are Republican, Penny S. Schultz, Jen Zielinski. We will take opening statements and we will start in alphabetical order. And you will have 1 minute, and we will start with Ms. Schultz.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Penny Schultz. I am your Orion Township Clerk. Thank you for this opportunity to meet with you this evening. I am a dedicated public servant who began working for Orion Township in 1989. I was elected to serve as your Orion Township Clerk in 2008. From the assessing department to the clerk's office, I have proven my dedication and commitment to the community. The community makes an important decision when we elect our leaders. As an experienced municipal clerk, I have represented you with excellence. I am equipped to conduct elections, manage government affairs, and effectively carry out my responsibilities in my current role as your Orion Township Clerk. It is an honor to represent you.
Thank you. Ms. Zielinski.
Thank you, Jerry. Good evening. My name is Jen Zielinski, and I am running to be your next Orion Township Clerk. I was raised here in Orion Township, and I'm raising my family in Orion Township. My 3 children and my husband, we live in Keatington. I have 20 years of corporate America experience. For the last 13 years, I have been with Volkswagen Credit. Currently, with Volkswagen Credit, I am in their technology department, where I'm in the process of implementing an international portfolio management system with my team. Some might ask why I might decide to leave Volkswagen. Well, my decision to be running for your next township clerk is my passion and drive to serve this community that has shaped me into who I am, to be a bigger part of the community where my children are being raised, to let them see how one person can make a difference, their ability to see me at work, and at times a chance to participate.
Thank you. We will now start our questions, and each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question unless time is extended by the moderator. The first question, we will start with Ms. Schultz. Holding office is a position of trust. How would you assess priorities of the community and be transparent in your decision making?
Thank you. We do have transparency at Orion Township. One of the first things I did when I came into office in 2008 was to take a look at the boardroom and see what we could do as a Board of Trustees to enhance the transparency there. I applied for a grant with the Orion Cable Commission, and I received that grant, and we made those upgrades. And what we were able to do is to mirror what was happening in the boardroom so that our residents at home could see what we were doing as a Board of Trustees. Other ways that I've increased transparency for Orion Township is instituted the board book. That was a great opportunity for our Board of Trustees to use their devices, whether it be their laptops or iPads, to take a look at their board agenda packets. And we also put that out on the Township website so that our residents could see what was taking place in the boardroom.
Thank you. Ms. Zielinski.
I believe that innovation and technology needs to come to the forefront of the clerk's office. Inflexible and outdated systems and processes hinder success. We're currently in the clerk's department not using the software that the remainder of the township departments use, BS&A. To my understanding, the software that is being used in the clerk's office currently is not even supported by the developer any longer. This could be a huge problem for the taxpayers should this system crash. Additionally, Penny, you mentioned board book and that you implemented this, but you're the only one on the Board of Trustees who doesn't use it. Why don't you use board book?
Ma'am.
Oh,
I'm sorry, we don't allow back and forth.
Okay.
Your views
You're the only one
on
who
the
doesn't
question.
use it. Additionally, I'll leave it there. That's fine.
Jerry, I think she should have a chance to respond. That's fine.
Yep.
That's fair.
Yep. You have 15 seconds to respond.
30.
30? Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity to respond, but no response is necessary. I implement and fully utilize the board book. We update that on a regular basis for our board members, and I need to have a board packet at the township board meeting in case our Board of Trustees are failed in the way that they use their device, and we have to have a hard copy. That's imperative that we have that copy available, because if the system crashes or if we indeed have a situation where we can't connect to the website and one of our Board of Trustees was not able to download the system, we could not take care of the people's business.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. Zielinski. Yes. What government or township positions do you currently involved in? How important is it to be involved in the township?
Currently, I'm involved with a lot of activities through my children's schools, and my involvement with the township has stemmed from my family's ability and desire to be a part of this community. My husband and I both grew up here. My husband is an active member on township boards. And I think it's important for us and my family to be able to step up and give back to this amazing community. I'm ready to do that. I have a desire and a passion to do that for you.
Thank you, Ms. Schultz.
Thank you for asking that question. I'm involved on many boards and commissions in the township. I serve as secretary for the North Oakland Community Coalition, and we are in all of the schools conducting age-appropriate education and training for our youth to stay off drugs and alcohol. That's an important issue that all of us know needs to be addressed. And as a member of that board, I am the secretary keeping track of the minutes, making sure that we're making good decisions and investing in our children's future. I also serve on the Senior Advisory Board. I've been on that board since I was elected in 2008. We owe a debt of gratitude to our seniors, and I'm involved in making sure that we have what our seniors need to be able to be self-sufficient in our communities and the resources available to them. I serve on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, and all of you know that we have excellent parks in Orion Township. There are other numerous committees that I cannot talk about at this time because I received the 15-second warning. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. Schultz. Technology is important. How is the clerk's office implementing new or future services? What has already been done?
Thank you for asking that question. We will be getting new election equipment, and it's really important that you have a trained, certified municipal clerk to institute that election equipment. That will be rolled out in many of our communities in 2017 who have a May election. And I did receive a grant from the state to get all of our laptops in place so that when we are using our e-poll books, our electronic poll books in our elections, our people are able to come in and vote efficiently. We're able to look up information. And we also have in the clerk's office a fund balance system, which is supported by the developer of that. We are very excited that that's in place. We are not having a problem downloading information from all the other departments because we have efficiently used what we have in place. If I were to go to BS&A, it would cost our residents $125,000 to upgrade, and that is not a cost I'm willing to invest at this time.
Thank you. Ms. SLIWINSKI.
I do think technology is a very important issue in the clerk's office. With regards to getting new election equipment, that's fantastic. That's great news for this community. However, I would like to see the election workers have the opportunity to train online if they choose. I don't think the taxpayers should have to worry about paying for workshops every election. We can do a combination of both. There are residents out there that would appreciate having the ability to train online. Additionally, upgrading to the BS&A software to comply with the remaining township departments not only makes sense, but it keeps uniformity and collaboration between all of the departments. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. SLIWINSKI. What do you think of the township and village becoming one community?
That's an interesting question. The township and village, we are all the same. We have a village municipality and they govern those village residents. But as a township, we are all one. We are all together. We have all vested in this community, this great township, and we should continue to exist together and communicate. Open communication is a necessity. I don't see that there's a difference. We have a village, but we are all Orion Township residents.
Thank you. Ms. Schultz.
The interesting thing about the village of Lake Orion is that they have a board that governs them, as well as the township has a board that governs them. And the people in those communities have elected those boards and commissions to represent them. And we need to honor that as a township and as a village. Some of the services that we provide to the village of Lake Orion would be assessment administration services. By law, we do that. And also by law, I am required to provide election services. And I do have to train in person all of my 250 election inspectors by law. I cannot do that online, so it's important to bring them to the township to conduct that required by law 2-hour training. So as I said before, it's up to the boards and commission and the people in those communities to determine if we should be looked at as one municipality.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. Schultz. What experience, education, or prior knowledge do you have that would support your position as township clerk?
I started working for the township in 1989, and when I started there, I was hired by Joanne Van Tassel, who was our supervisor at the time. I had been a waitress for years, and I was able to take a Job Training Placement Act program through the the Fred Eman Center on Elizabeth Street. And I worked diligently. The first night that I was there at Township Hall, my first day, I took all of the manuals home to learn, 2 of the large assessment administration manuals, to learn my job. I have not stopped growing. I am a certified municipal clerk. I have a master municipal designation, which is an international designation. I also have a certified municipal clerk from the state of Michigan as well. So I have an international designation, I have a state designation, and I'm also a master assessing officer, which serves in many ways for the community to take a look at assessment administration as well. And we are funded by tax dollars. So that's an important piece in my education experience.
Thank you. Ms. SLIWINSKI.
I've worked for 20 years in corporate America. I have the drive and determination, passion and commitment to bring the clerk's office into the 21st century. In my career, I have worked on a multitude of projects, several different teams. I have dealt with customers and vendors, IT. I can work productively in the face of disagreement. Currently, the clerk does not have the experience to bring the technology that is needed to bring this township office into the 21st century. She has been 27 years as a paid government employee. I have had the ability in my career to work in several capacities. This township needs change, and that change is with me.
Thank you.
Jerry, can she respond because she was mentioned and I think she should have a chance to respond.
Yeah, I'd like to just put both of you. We don't mention each other. We answer the question in your views on the question asked. This isn't a debate. This is information, and I'll give you 20 seconds.
No need to respond because my record speaks for itself.
Okay.
Thank you.
And she gets to answer the question. The next question, we will start with Ms. SLIWINSKI. What are your thoughts on strategic plan for the township going forward? What will it look like in a decade?
With regards to strategic plan, I am going to look at this as the master plan that's in place here at the township. And I believe that smart, calculated decisions that will preserve existing neighborhoods, natural resources, and infrastructure are what's needed to maintain the strategic plan of this community. We need to encourage residents and businesses alike. Without growth, we die. It is important that we continue to grow our community in a positive manner that's beneficial to both residents and businesses.
Thank you. Ms. Schultz.
Thank you. The strategic plan for the township is clear. Our master plan designates what it is we need to do as a community. We have studied that carefully and instituted the master plan for Orion Township. That was recently done. It's clear with the community programs, our Parks and Recreation master plan as well. We need to fully implement those tools, which have been studied very carefully by our consultants, by our engineers, with input from our Board of Trustees, our Planning Commission, and our Zoning Board of Appeals, and most importantly, our residents. They're telling us what they want, and we need to listen and implement those plans fully.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with Ms. Schultz. Do you believe in absentee ballots for all voters?
I do not. Our legislators are telling us not to do that, and they've studied that very carefully. I do believe, however, that people should have the opportunity to receive an absent voter ballot if they so choose to go to the precincts on Election Day. That's our constitutional right, and we want to honor that. The people are allowed to go to the precincts on Election Day. We have trained election inspectors in place to serve our residents, and we need to continue that process. And I'm hopeful that people will go out and vote on August 2nd, that we'll have 100% participation. That would be my goal.
Thank you. Ms. Zielinski.
I don't disagree with Ms. Schultz. I do not believe that everybody should be able to obtain an absentee ballot. I believe there is just cause for needing an absentee ballot, but I also believe that that is your American right to be able to take that day and go cast your vote and believe in the person that you believe in. I think that's a right that we have built this country on, and I don't disagree with you.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. Zielinski. What is your understanding of the government use of the city-owned or township-owned phones and computers?
To my understanding, the township-owned phones and computers are just that. They are the property of the township. They are not to be used for personal emails, phone calls, notifications. This is something that has recently been brought to light. On the May 16th board meeting, it was brought to the board's attention that a township email was being used to possibly campaign from. A resident took out the Freedom of Information Act, and it was discovered that yes, in fact, there was a member of the township that was in fact using their email to conduct campaign business, which is illegal. As far as the phones, I have yet to see if there's been a request for the Freedom of Information Act on any of the township board members' phones, but I would be curious to know if there has been campaign happenings on township-issued equipment.
Thank you. Ms. Schultz.
Everyone at the township hall that's been issued a phone signs an agreement. They sign an agreement how they will use that. They also sign an agreement how they will use their laptop and their iPad. And it's important that we follow that agreement. I'm connected to the township 24/7. They've issued a phone to me so that I'm available to our residents. And many of our residents are sending me questions, sometimes in the middle of the night, and I answer them as soon as I get them in the morning. I'm always looking at my email, I'm always checking my voicemail, and I'm always checking my text. So I do use the township iPhone or my phone regularly, and I'm always connected to the township. I think that's important that we are available to our residents.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. Schultz. How do you stay current on state issues as it affects the township?
That's a great question. I'm currently the president of the Oakland County Clerks Association. I've been elected by my peers to serve in that role. I've been on the executive board now for 4 years. And I also, prior to that, served on the legislative committee. I worked diligently to ensure that our election laws were kept current, and where we had areas where we needed to make change, I was able to work with Representative Colwell and change some of the wording in our election law to remove the instructions off the ballot and place them on the secrecy sleeves in our precincts. The way that I stay current on all of our election laws and election requirements and training requirements, I'm responsible for training our election inspectors, is through the Michigan Clerks Association. And I'm also involved with the Michigan Township Association. Everyone knows they're a great agency. They keep us informed. And also our Secretary of State, Ruth Johnson, she's highly involved with her local municipal clerks as well as our county clerk. And so I'm involved and continually training.
Thank you. Ms. Zielinski.
I believe it's very important to stay current on state issues. That in mind, I absolutely fully intend on immersing myself into as much training and opportunity as the current clerk has had. I absolutely will join the International Institute of Municipal Clerks and begin my training. I don't have a problem with this. As of right now, the way I stay current is I pay attention to my local government and I read up on the issues that are facing the state and how it can impact my township in which I live in.
Thank you. We'll start with Ms. Schultz. I'm sorry, we'll start with Ms. SLIWINSKI. Will you attend department head meetings on a weekly basis?
The answer is short and sweet with that. Absolutely. It's part of your job. You can't have a team of people working together if you don't have good attendance. If I had poor attendance at my job right now, I wouldn't have a job. I am committed to working as a team with the department heads and the existing board of trustees to continue to see this township thrive.
Thank you. Ms. Schultz.
Yes, I do. I think it's an important way for information to get out. We need to be able to communicate with one another. We need to know what's happening at Township Hall in different departments, and we need to support one another in the efforts that each department is taking to meet the needs of the residents. I also need to attend those meetings in order to find out what the department heads would like to have on the agenda. That's key, and I need to provide information too, because we work together as a township. We work together with the different departments to assist with the elections. They may need information for us to get information out to the community. We are working really hard with all the departments. And I want to say thank you very much to our Building and Grounds Department. They have been outstanding in making sure that our election precincts are equipped for the voters on Election Day. Staff meetings are key. I also hold staff meetings in my own department on a weekly basis and provide information to my staff. So it's getting the information out. It's coming both ways. I'm receiving and they are as well.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. Schultz. Why do you want to be Township Clerk?
I love the community. I love the people. My parents grew up here, and so we've been in this community for approximately 5 generations. My grandparents grew up lived on Bellevue Island, and my parents, Steve and Marlene Rubelman, met and fell in love with each other when they were pretty young. And my dad went off to college, and I always came to this community as a child. I remember some of the changes. I remember when Kelly Beach was over and that huge slide, and I just fell in love with the community as a child. And now, because I have so much experience, I want to serve the people. That's why I'm here. It's about the people. It's not about the boards. It's not about what we do every single day. If we can't meet the needs of the people, then we're not accepting our responsibilities completely. But the reason I serve as your Orion Township Clerk is because you have entrusted me with that responsibility.
Thank you, Ms. SLIWINSKI.
Thank you. I am running for Township Clerk because I see a need. There is a need in the township to help bring innovation and technology into the clerk's office, and I can do that. Additionally, I have a passion and a drive for this community that has shaped me into the person that I am today. I grew up here. I'm raising my family here. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I am vested in this community, and this is where I plan to stay. I want to be a bigger part of this community where my children are being raised, where my family is being cared for. I want people to see how one person can make a difference, that we can be a stronger community together when we work as a team. We can do this. I want to be your township clerk because I have the tenacity and the drive to bring us into the 21st century and hit it out of the park. I can do that for you. I'm willing and ready.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. SLIWINSKI. Will the widening of I-75 through Oakland County benefit Orion Township?
I think it's going to be a headache at first, but absolutely. I think that the widening on I-75 is going to certainly help bring more out-of-town guests into our community to where they can spend their money and bring their children and family to our parks. I think that the widening, yes, it's going to be troublesome, it's going to be a headache, but it can help bring in more revenue for our community. It'll help improve traffic flow in the long run. And I must agree with what Trustee STEIMEL said, that it'll help us get home to our Orion Township community where we want to be, faster once the roads are improved.
Thank you. Ms. Schultz.
You can get anywhere from Orion Township. We have easy on and off access at 2 entrances, at Baldwin Road and at Joslin Road. We also can get to M59 pretty quickly through I-75 as well. And so I think the widening will benefit the township in the long run. But looking at the short-term things that we need to do to prepare as a community is to make sure that we inform our residents of what's taking place, ensure that we're communicating effectively with the transportation department, and we want to make sure that some of our local contractors are involved with the process. That's a great idea for us to get engaged. And the other thing that I'd like to say about the improvement that would take place on the interstate, we have an excellent first responder and police force. And I'm very glad that they are covering that, because you're bringing interstate traffic into the township, and we want to make sure that we're mindful of that impact on our community.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. Schultz. What is your position on the 4-county rapid transit millage?
My position was clear last night. I voted unanimously with our Board of Trustees to have a resolution brought back to the township at a future board meeting so that we could oppose what they're asking us to participate in. I fully support North Oakland Transportation Authority, NOTA. We worked really hard to be able to get to the additional millage for NOTA Transportation because they provide such an excellent service for our seniors. So we want to continue as a community to support North Oakland Transportation Authority, and by the Board of Trustees voting unanimously to draft that resolution, I'm fully expecting to have a unanimous decision of the Board of Trustees when that resolution is brought back.
Thank you. Ms. SLIWINSKI.
Again, I concur. I am not in favor of this. I don't see the benefit in requesting the taxpayers to pay for this when we aren't going to get full service from it. It's something that I fully believe that North Oakland Transit Authority already has under control. We have the capability to transport our residents. I don't see the benefit for Orion Township at all, and I would have voted the same way. No.
Thank you. This will be the last question before the closing remarks. What is the most important issue that you would support or attempt to pass in Orion Township during this next term? Something that is current or something that you need?
Who's to start?
And we will start with Ms. SLIWINSKI.
I believe the most important issue that we're facing currently at the clerk's office is the lack of innovation and technology. We need to utilize our existing resources such as the township website and our mobile app to empower and engage our residents. This isn't currently being done. We have the ability to provide much more transparency by utilizing these resources and reaching our residents in a manner in which they choose to be reached. There are so many different avenues of technology that we need to grasp all of them and start utilizing them. I'm not saying that the clerk's office is going to go away. You're still going to get a friendly, smiling face when you walk in there, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. But I believe that we need to bring our clerk's office into the 21st century. It's time. We can't keep running on outdated software, outdated systems, and outdated policies.
Thank you. Ms. Schultz.
Thank you for the opportunity to close with this. We need to preserve our natural resources. I think that's really important. Our motto is, where living is like a vacation. People value that. And we need to make sure that we're taking care of what's been entrusted to us. Another area where we're going to need to focus on is the implementation of the new election equipment. The state is going to fund a part of that for all of the municipal clerks in the state of Michigan, but the township is going to have to fund a portion of that as well. And we want to make sure that we're implementing that and training in that for all of our election workers as well as our community. That's very important. Implementation of our master plans. We have a great master plan that needs to be put in place, and we need to follow that. And we also want to make sure that we are serving the people, that we're continually making information available to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. And now is the time for closing remarks, and we will respond in reverse order, and we'll start with Ms. SLIWINSKI, 1 minute.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Orion Area Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event tonight. I am not a polished politician, and nor am I a public speaker. I am a regular citizen that wants to stand up and make a difference in my community. I have the ability and the business resources to bring in innovation and corporate and ethical standards into the clerk's office. I do not believe that our current clerk has the ability at the moment to bring in the 21st century technology that we so desperately need in this community. I can guarantee you I do. I've worked on teams that can do this. I have the ability to be able to bring this to the forefront and make Orion Township a great place to live. I am Jen SLIWINSKI, and I am looking for your vote on August 2nd as your next Orion Township clerk.
Thank you. Ms. Schultz.
Thank you for hosting this candidate forum. I truly appreciate your commitment to ensure voters have the opportunity to learn about each candidate. I am honored to serve as your clerk. It has been a very productive 8 years, and I'm looking forward to serving you in the years ahead. Local governments are unique in their position to impact future generations by the decisions that we make. I consider the short and long-term effects that our decisions will have on our residents. I am invested in our community. My husband Al and I have lived in Orion Township now for over 30 years, and we are blessed to have raised our children in the same community where my parents, Steve and Marlene Rubelman, grew up. Please contact me anytime, and remember to vote August 2nd. I'm Penny Schultz, your Republican candidate for Orion Township Clerk.
Thank you. And now we'll have remarks from the Director of the Chamber of Commerce.
Penny, Jen, thank you both for coming tonight and taking the time to talk to us in this forum. Appreciate your time. We know that you're strapped for time during this election cycle, so thank you so much. Stay tuned. During this break, we're going to look at some information about roundabouts that might be coming up soon, and also we'll look at those ballot proposals once more.
On August 2nd, Orion Township citizens will be asked to vote on several upcoming proposals. The Oakland County Zoological Authority is asking to renew a previously approved millage to provide revenue for an accredited zoological institution. The proposed millage will be asking for the same amount of 0.1 mils on all taxable property in the county, equaling about 10 cents per every $1,000 of taxable value. The tax levy would be in place for 10 years from 2018 to 2027. The Orion Township Fire Millage is asking for 1.984 mils in the span of 4 years, beginning December 2016. The millage would go toward providing fire protection services, maintaining the fire department, hiring staff, and the purchase of equipment and buildings for the township and the village. If the tax levy is authorized, a property with a $50,000 taxable value would be taxed $99.20. The Orion Township Police Millage is proposing a levy of up to 2.9885 mils during the span of 4 years beginning December 2016. Millage funds would go toward providing police protection, personnel costs, and operating costs in both the township and the village. If the millage is passed, a property with a taxable value of $50,000 will be taxed $149.43. The Lake Orion Community Schools are proposing a building and site sinking fund tax to levy 2 mils for 10 years from July 1st, 2016 to June 30th, 2026. The tax dollars received would go toward repairs and making improvements to the school district facilities. Funds from this tax cannot be used for operating expenses, maintenance, or employee salaries. If the millage is authorized, it would collect approximately $3,390,000 during the 2016 year. Be sure to head out to your designated polling location on August 2nd to cast your vote on these proposals. For more information about your polling location, visit oriontownship.org and navigate to the Clerk's Office link under Government Departments. There you will find contact numbers, polling locations, and a precinct boundary map to direct you where to vote. or call the clerk's office at 248-391-0304, extension 104.
On Wednesday, June 15th, the Road Commission of Oakland County hosted the latest in a series of public information meetings on proposed improvements to Baldwin Road. Beginning in 2017, construction will take place from Morgan Road, just north of I-75, to Walden Road.
Through a series of those public meetings, the public really determined that they wanted to go with a narrower boulevard type of intersection, and in order to not have to widen that out so we have the full widened median where we can make trucks and everything get around on the Michigan left turn, the indirect lefts. The only other solution with the narrow boulevard is to turn them then in roundabouts. So we've proposed a roundabout corridor, and that was what came out as the environmental assessment as the preferred alternative. So now we've gone far enough down design. We know where some of the driveways are going to be. We know what the details of the project are going to be, and we wanted to share that with the public, get their input, answer their questions, give them some educational opportunities. I've already talked to several people about roundabouts here today and answered some of their questions, and that's the intent of today's meeting.
We're told that Oakland County ranks among the safest counties in the nation when it comes to traffic accidents, and that roundabouts have proven to alleviate congestion and reduce fatalities.
We take safety extremely seriously. With the roundabouts, the typical roundabout reduces crashes, particularly serious injury crashes, by over 75%, and fatality and debilitating crashes by over 90%. They do all that while handling more traffic than our most intelligent traffic systems that we can use with our cameras and our computer-aided signals and everything. So they're just a win-win situation.
Road Commission Vice Chair Eric Wilson reassures residents that short-term aggravation will be worth the long-term benefits of the proposed improvements to Baldwin Road.
We are, Joe. We're anticipating the opportunity for the citizens of Baldwin and Oakland County to see a vast improvement in the traffic flow and the business of the community. The citizens of Orion have been waiting for this development 30 plus, 40 years, 50 years. And to see it come to fruition is really going to be a joy. Now, it's going to be an aggravation, and I apologize for the delay that people are going to have the next several years, couple years. When it gets done, it's going to be like a nice, smooth roads that we can travel on in Orion Township, business community, a walkable community. As you know, Joe, you look, the safety paths are in there. That's important for the Township of Orion, for the citizens. And Orion's a family community. And this is about families. This is about people being able to get out, walk about, do their business, and enjoy the community.
According to MDOT's website, RestoreM24.com, the ongoing construction that's taking place on Lapeer Road should be wrapped up by November of this year. So if all goes according to plan, the two projects should not overlap. If you have any questions or concerns about the Baldwin Road project, you can call 248-858-4804 or visit rcocweb.org. In Orion Township, this is Joe Johnson reporting for ONTV News.
Hi, and welcome back to the 2016 Orion Township Candidates Forum. In this last segment, we're going to hear from the treasurer candidates. Our current treasurer, Mark Thurber, and his opponent, Donnie Steele, who is also a current treasurer. Jerry?
Thank you, and welcome back. The candidates for treasurer are Republicans Donnie Steele and Mark C. Thurber. Opening statements will now begin, and we will start in alphabetical order with Ms. Steele.
Hi, my name is Donnie Steele, and thank you for coming tonight and learning more about your local candidates. I am seeking election as your full-time treasurer. My initial desire to run as a trustee was to give back to the community where I grew up and where I raised my children. I've been married to my husband Philip for 25 years, and I'm raising my 2 boys, Max and Colton, which both go to Lake Orion schools. The reason why I'm seeking the Treasury position is because I believe there is a definite lack of leadership and a need for innovation. It is my mission to bring innovation and cohesiveness between the departments within the township. For the past year, I have taken initiative to learn how other municipalities have run their Treasury Department, how Oakland County interacts with Orion Township, and how we can optimize banking products and enhance our investment portfolio.
Thank you. Mr. Thurber.
Good evening. I'm Mark Thurber. I'm your treasurer at Orion Township currently. First and foremost, I'm a family man, married for 15 years with 2 sons and a daughter, 11, 10, and 7 years old, all going to Orion schools. When looking for a place to raise my family, my wife and I recognized Orion Township had all the best that we were looking for. We were overwhelmed by the embrace she, my newborn, and I received after moving in, not only from the neighbors, but also from the community at large. It's precisely this warm, generous, small-town character that has inspired me to become fully involved and offer my skills and devotion to the community. Qualifications that make me the best choice for treasurer include I'm a certified public treasurer through Central Michigan University. I have a Bachelor of Science degree from Oakland University with postgraduate work done at George Washington University. I have 30 years experience in finance, research and development, and in international business, holder of multiple patents and publications, and I selected a deputy that is highly qualified as a CPA with vast banking and finance experience.
Thank you. Now is the time for the questions, and we will start our first question with Ms. Steele. Will fulfilling the employment obligation interfere with your duties as treasurer? Will you be a full-time treasurer?
That is a great question. It is my mission to be a full-time treasurer and to give the taxpayers what I believe, what they deserve from your candidate and the position as treasurer. Right now, I am a stay-at-home mom and a full-time trustee for Orion Township. I spend at least 20 hours a week as your trustee, and I will continue that forging forward for your township as your treasurer. I believe that as a treasurer, you'll have 20 hours or so to do the treasurer department work, 20 hours or so to do the benefit of the township, and probably another 20 hours to run as your trustee.
Thank you. Mr. Thurber.
Right now I am your full-time treasurer, and it's very obvious if you drive by Township Hall. You can see my car parked clearly out front when I'm in the office right next to the flagpole, and I have been that way since I took office. It does not serve the community for me to sit behind the desk all the time. I have other duties and responsibilities. I serve on the NOTA board. I serve as a Pollyant Trail treasurer for Pollyant Trail. I work in the volunteer in the schools. I reach out to the community. It's my job to look upon foreclosed property and inspect foreclosed property around the township. There's a number of reasons for me to not necessarily be behind the desk. I have to go to Oakland County frequently. I visit with banks. I've got to go to the bank constantly. I visit with investment advisors. So me being behind the desk in my office isn't necessarily always the optimum place for me to be to serve the community.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Mr. Thurber. Is our budget sufficient to meet the current needs and emergencies like a wind or snowstorm?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a big proponent of saving for a rainy day. Not somebody who, I've often said I'm not the Department of Spending, I'm the Department of Saving. And we have right now in our general fund, we actually have approximately $19.5 million. And our water and sewer fund, we have approximately $41 million. We have plenty for a snowstorm, even a minor catastrophe. However, I also look upon our host fee, something that we get from our from the landfill waste management, as our contingency fund in case of an absolute catastrophe. We can always tap into that.
Thank you. Ms. Steele.
I'm fiscally conservative. I have always been fiscally conservative. I believe that you spend not necessarily the entire budget, but less if it's possible. And there has not been a bill that has come through the board bills that I have not scrutinized. It has been my mission to have a balanced budget the last 3 years, and it was only the 1 year that I did not vote it for that we weren't within the balanced budget. I have been a proponent of watching the fire safety millage to make sure that we stay within the budget. I don't think it's necessary to spend all your money. I think you should spend your money wisely, and I think that the township does a great job at that.
Thank you. The next question, we will start with Ms. Steele. If you had to prioritize how the city money was spent, what would be your highest priority and what would be your lowest priority?
I think that my township money should be spent with safety. I think the safety of the citizens is key. I think that we have our fire and we have our police, and that we need to make sure that the community is safe. I am a big proponent of parks and recreation. I'm a big proponent of trails and safety paths, and I would like to continue along those lines of recreation and safety within our community.
Thank you. Mr. Thurber.
Well, I absolutely agree with the safety and security of our community. That is absolutely got to be key. No one wants to live in a community that's unsafe, and that's what holds us together. That's our strength, is that we're a close-knit community with great culture, and we don't want to lose that based on not providing enough for our safety for our police and fire. Something that I think that we need to focus on, and I'm a big proponent of right now, is the sinking fund. Mentioned in the last part of the forum is that our schools, by legislation in the 90s, really made them property of the township, so to speak. We're stewards to maintain those buildings and infrastructure. And we need to focus and support them at this time with the sinking fund, because the sinking fund is designated to support the buildings and infrastructure. If we don't keep them up, they're going to fall apart. And if our schools fall apart, then what are our young people going to do? They're going to go elsewhere.
Thank you. The next question, we will start with Mr. Thurber. Why was a part-time clerk hired in the Treasurer's Department? Wasn't there enough work to retain the full-time employee?
Can you repeat the question? I didn't quite
Why
understand.
was a part-time clerk hired in the Treasurer's Department? Was there not enough work to retain the full-time employee?
I think what you're referring to is that there were three full-time people with the last treasurer before I took office. At one point, one of those people was dismissed or moved, I don't know how you want to phrase it. And I think it had to do with some, maybe some issues between the treasurer and that person. That left a void. And I just recently took on a part-time person because our duties in the Treasury have grown just as our population has grown, as our revenues have grown, as in fact the legislation where we have to do a lot more settlements with the Oakland County. Our duties have all grown, and we've all been discussing how many new residences and whatnot are going in. So we are taking in more money from more people. So we needed to have support for that. And when you only have two people and somebody is sick or goes on vacation, that's clerk speaking, we simply don't have enough people to cover for absences.
You can finish the sentence.
Oh, am I? Okay.
Ms. Steele.
Well, part of my balanced budget is that I don't think that we necessarily need more employees to run a more effective and efficient department. I think we need innovation and new ideas and better technology instead of hiring more bodies. As your treasurer, I would have no problem going to the front desk myself. I would have no problem waiting on customers which are the taxpayers and my citizens, and meeting them at the front gate and selling dog tags and allowing the two clerks in the back to go take a lunch and take a vacation. I'm happy to work the front desk and say hi to my residents, because to me, that's the funnest part of the job, is to talk to the people that I see every single day. I didn't think that there was a need to hire a part-time assistant. I believe that what we needed was harder work from our current treasurer, and that's what I'll do, and that's what I would bring to that department.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. Steele. Are you familiar with any pending decisions by the city attorney to formalize whether we should use township funds in an investment pool with Oakland County? Is this a good or bad decision?
Well, I think what you're referring to is most recently $25 million of our township funds are being invested in the Oakland County pool investment pool. And over the past 3 years, it was our duty to the citizens to make sure that that money was being reported as in an investment for the township. And in the past 3 years, the current treasurer chose to not report this as an investment and chose to put it in what he would consider a bank account. And it was recent, actually in the June meeting, that it was asked by the attorney to make a ruling and a decision or an opinion, is this money considered an investment? And the decision is yes, it is.
Thank you, Mr. Thurber.
Well, yeah, that controversy came up, and I'm disappointed that one of our trustees had to invoke our spend your money with our attorney to come up with an opinion on whether we called the money in the investment pool a bank account or whether you called it an investment. I said at the board meeting, I didn't care what we called it. But yet we spent probably several $1,000s getting an attorney opinion on whether it was called an investment or not. The Oakland County investment pool works just like a money market account, if any of you have one of those. You put money in it, you get a higher yield. In fact, over the past quarter, we got over 1% return on this money market account, where I can get them, I have access to the money, it's liquid. I can get it in one day, just like a bank account, unlike a long-term investment where there's years investing. So I was able to get over 1% investing in the Oakland County pool. Is anybody able to get that on their accounts out there in the audience? Anyone?
Next question, we will start with Mr. Thurber. How can a citizen review the budget? Is it current?
Our budget is, well, they can come to my office or put in a FOIA and they'll be able to get full budgetary information. And that's transparency in government. I urge you to put in a FOIA request and get a copy of the budget. Our controller, finance person does an excellent job of monthly posting our expenses in an expenditure budget report. And I think that that's probably the best way to do it. My department isn't responsible for keeping the budget records. So coming to the Treasury for a dissemination of that information is incorrect, but I'm happy to talk to anybody about it or any of our finances at any time. Gladly able, I encourage people to come in. It gets a little lonely in there sometimes. Nobody wants to come see the treasurer. It's like they're going to the dentist, I guess.
Thank you. Ms. Steele.
I think regarding the budget, our budget is, we have been keeping our budget up to date. Right now we're collaborating dates in which we can do budget meetings and budget workshops. The budget is really under the control of the supervisor. However, our quarterly reports, which are our financial statements of our funds, which are being invested by the Treasurer's Department, are really not available online, which they could be and they should be. And the quarterly reports have not been on time, and they have not been online, and they are very difficult to read. And that's the job of the treasurer is to make sure that that information is readily available for the citizens, and that's what I would do.
Thank you. The next question, we will start with Ms. Steele. In a nutshell, what did the audit by Plant Moran Accounting show? Was there any concerns for the residents to be aware of?
Well, we just most recently had our audit report, and we did do very well with our audit report. Plant Moran did a great job. And the one concern that they did write a footnote about was that there was a missing check that was missing from the Treasurer's Department. And Plant Moran had a grave concern that the systems were not put in place properly to be able to alleviate such possible fraudulent opportunities that could happen with a check that's missing from the Treasurer's Department. I think we shouldn't have checks. Let's do e-checks. Let's do e-pay. Let's do electronic checks. Let's do things that are innovative where we don't have systems like this where we have checks missing from the department.
Thank you, Mr. Thurber.
Well, I'm pleased to report that we've had the highest possible ratings from our auditor for the past couple of years since I've been in office, and that's great credit to my wonderful Treasury staff and the clerk's office, since we handle most of the financing. As far as the one footnote that that is being addressed or was brought up, is the check was not missing, and what occurred was the staff who was formerly the accounts payable person came in and got the check on behalf of the clerk's office. So it really had nothing to do with the Treasury staff whatsoever. Now, as far as going to e-checks, that is not physically possible in government. We can't do that. It's impossible to eliminate checks. That's just the way government operates. Having been in private sector for so long, I would like to see a lot of these things take place, but it's kind of impossible as far as government goes.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Mr. Thurber. What is your understanding of how the treasurer's salary is determined? Are bonuses a legitimate incentive for a township employee?
Well, the treasurer's salary, along with all the other government officials, is established by the board. And it really, since I've been in office, any increases have simply been equal to the union contract increase, and there hasn't been any bonuses or anything else for Treasury or for the clerk, to my understanding. It's all governed by the board. I would like to point out that I again came from the private sector. I made a great sacrifice financially to take this position because I wanted to give back to my community, and where bonuses in good times are standard, it's not part of the government routine.
Thank you. Ms. Steele.
Thank you. I think it's a great question, and it opens up the Pandora's box. When our current treasurer took office, he chose to miss probably the first 3 months of office after he was sworn in. And after he missed the first 3 months, then he took a trip to Europe for General Motors because he was working simultaneously at General Motors, and then took another trip to Disney World. And then the first opportunity that there was to vote in a raise for the elected officials, he voted it in. I denied it. I voted it down, in which it did not pass. It was then subsequently voted in the second year, the third year, and the fourth year. And subsequently, I voted it down, down, and down. But what you're referring to is the bonus. There was a $600 bonus that was given to union employees for a rebate for insurance monies. I believe it was insurance monies. And the rebate was given to the union employees, so therefore the elected officials thought, the full-time officials thought that they should also get a $600 bonus. And again, I thought, With this lack of performance, why would we give raises? Why would we give bonuses? So again, I voted that down, and the only person that voted for that $600 to deface your reputation for $600 was Mr. Thurber. Sorry.
Jared, can you respond?
Yes, you have 30 seconds to respond because we do not attack each other.
I understand. Thank you.
So, well, what my opponent just pointed out was wrought with inaccuracies. In the beginning transition of my office, and I'm glad you brought it up, is there was no provision by the former administration to provide for insurance for new people coming in. I discovered this shortly before taking office. I have 3 little children and one special needs daughter. I was not going to go without insurance for one moment. And so I did stay on General Motors roll, used up my vacations and vacation time and whatnot and leave time. And you'll notice right now our township employee insurance extends from February 1st to February 1st. The reason for that is because we couldn't get insurance at the beginning of our terms. So that's the reason for all any questions on attendance whatsoever. Furthermore, the rest of it, I don't know what you're even talking about.
And Mr. Thurber, you have 1 minute to answer the original question.
Which was, would you repeat that, please?
What is your understanding of the treasurer's salary? Is it determined? Are bonuses a legitimate incentive?
Oh, I think I already answered that. So, would you like me to repeat it?
Well, no, we waived your time when we don't attack anyone in these forums.
Right.
So when she mentioned you, you got to respond to that. But
Okay.
if you want 30 seconds more to answer the original question, you certainly can.
I think you did.
Okay.
Well, I'll go.
Go ahead if you want to take your time.
I'll go over it again. As I explained earlier, is the I came from the private sector where in good times you get bonuses and whatnot, and I was making a lot more money, and I made the sacrifice to do this for the community for a lesser pay, where there really is no bonuses. The board votes on salaries. The clerk and the treasurer's salary is equal. Supervisor's salary is a little bit higher. Any increases are only proposals that go right along with the union contract for the same amount of money. And yes, I voted for increasing, it's basically a cost of living increase, for increasing my salary and that of all the other elected officials. They're not individual. We're not voting on the treasurer or the clerk or the supervisor separately. They're all bundled together. That goes along with the trustees too, I believe. So I think that answers the question.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Mr. Thurber. How do you feel about timely fiscal reporting? What will you do to ensure that we're getting our financial status within 60 days of the quarter's end?
I think it's not the financial status, it's financial reporting. And as I said at a recent board meeting, is that my office is governed primarily by two sets of documents. It's the state of Michigan statutes and by our investment policy. State of Michigan statutes require that reporting be, for a given quarter, be reported during the next trailing quarter. And I've always hit that mark. It's 90 days, not 60 days. And our investment policy does not specify anything other than 60 days. I believe there may have been some typo or something in the budget report that said something about 60 days, but my office is not governed by that. And as far as timely reporting, I report out on time and try to shape my reports to please the board. But I want to point out that at no time do the trustees come to my office or call me or send me an email asking ahead of time for any information whatsoever. This is all seems to be theater for the board meetings.
Thank you, Ms. Steele.
Well, I think what our current treasurer is referring to is that I had to make a formal request on one of our recent meetings that we shall have presented to the board the quarterly report from the previous year. So here we are in the 1st of June, and we're looking for the first quarter report of 2016. So if you are lucky enough to have $25 million sitting in an account, wouldn't you be just blazing excited to come over and tell everybody how well that money's doing every single quarter at the beginning of the quarter? I mean, if it's all on a pie chart, if it's all within a fiscal and it's all on a spreadsheet, how hard would it be to run that off at the beginning of each quarter after you reconcile the statements? How much fun it would be to give our quarterly reports on time.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. Steele. What % of our budget comes from the state coffers? With the state coming in short this year, will that seriously affect us?
Well, approximately $2 million is it comes from the state coffers. It's I want to say profit sharing because I'm coming from the private sector, but it's not. It's per capita sharing. It's based on how many residents that the township has, and it has been threatened for the last 2 years to be taken away from the local townships and the local governments. And luckily, being that it's a big portion of our total budget, luckily we have been able to maintain our state sharing. And I think that that's why it's so important to be involved with your Michigan Township Association to make sure that our local governments are protected, and the Michigan Township Association helps protect our local interests. And I am a local member. I'm the treasurer of the local MTA board. So I would like to keep that.
Thank you, Mr. Thurber.
Well, of course, any changes that the state makes affects us, whether it's on this allocation, on schools, on, in fact, personal property tax on businesses was a big one a couple years ago, and it affects us all the time. There's constant movement. The allocations for the cities, villages, and townships is in constant flux, especially these days. All I can say is yes, it will, if they cut back, it's going to affect us. We're going to have to look at other means of bringing in revenue or cutting back. It's a constant battle. It's probably the biggest topic in government in general, whether we're talking state, local, or federal. We just have to be vigilant, we have to be dynamic, and we have to have personnel to be able to manage all these changes.
Thank you, and this will be the last question. Prior to the closing remarks, we will start with Mr. Thurber, and it is, what major issue or plan would you put in effect to support the township in the future term?
Well, what I'd like to see is, first of all, development, I think, has gotten a little bit out of hand in our township. And I have always emphasized from day one, quality over quantity. That's what we're about. And something that we haven't seen is development of our industrial zones. We've seen almost no activity, and I'm not talking about commercial zones where we're putting up restaurants or anything else. I'm talking about our industrial zones. Industrial zones, when you set up a technology company comes in, they invest a tremendous amount of money in capital equipment that just doesn't, move in 6 months. They're here for the long haul. They bring in people, they bring in technologists, educated people who have to support our businesses by going out to lunch, by going to dry cleaners. It's that kind of staying power that our development is absent right now. We need to focus on our industrial sectors.
Thank you, Ms. Steele.
I have so many. I'll try to finish within my 30 seconds here, but I think initially our officials are not working cohesively together. I believe that there's unnecessary bureaucracy with such things as cash handling policy. I don't think we don't have effective online bill paying. We need more efficiency within our financing report. We need more diverse investments other than the Oakland County pool. We need better banking products. We need electronic checks. We need a lockbox facility. We need bills to be able to e-pay. We need software that all departments are interfaced within the township, within the water, the treasury, the clerk, the rec, and sometimes our money is being handled 4 and 5 times the same dollar. We need more teamwork. We need more collaboration with other municipalities and within our own township. We need to do a lot of things differently so we can take all this bureaucracy and put it aside so that we can give service to our citizens more better.
Finish this statement.
More better. Work right.
Thank you. That concludes the questions. The candidates will now have a 1-minute closing. In reverse order, we will start with Mr. Thurber.
I believe the primary purpose of elected officials is to serve the will of the residents. Elected officials have a duty to serve as an example of good citizenship, not being an exception to the rules. I strive to be a role model in all things and be an example to our younger generations, especially my children. I'm dedicated to preserving our culture, character, values, and green spaces, and feel that this must stand as priority over development. I'm Mark Thurber, and I'm asking for your vote on August 2nd for the following reasons. Support me because I stand for traditional principles. The will of the Orion residents will not crumble under the pressure of childish politics. Support me because I choose Orion to raise my young children, own my home, establish my roots, and I will be here for the long haul. And I will accept nothing but the best for my community. Support me because I am objective. I'm not a developer. I'm not a builder. I'm not a real estate agent. I'm not a broker or an owner of a local business. Plain and simple, Orion is my home. Support me because I represent what you want government to be: respectable, dignified, and transparent.
Thank you. Ms. Steele.
Thank you for all staying here till the end. In closing, I have been a loyal, diligent board member for 4 years. I've treated this as a full-time job, and I'm dedicated to this township. I will be your full-time treasurer. My business degree, management experience qualifies me to run an effective department. My real estate background gives me an understanding of Orion's properties, the tax base, and the assessments. My private business ownership and investments while running a family household gives me the expertise and ability to report the township finances cohesively and on time. As your trustee, I have served on the Paint Creek Trail, the Pollyann Commission, the Safety Path Commission, the Brown Road Corridor Improvement, which shows my loyalty. Remember, August 2nd, Donnie Steele for treasurer, full-time person, full-time job.
Thank you. The League of Women Voters would like to thank the audience, Orion Area Chamber of Commerce, the candidates, and Orion Neighborhood TV for making this forum possible. For further information on the candidates, check the League of Women Voters website for our voter guide, lwvoa.org. When known, rebroadcast times of this forum will be on the LWVOA website. The League of Women Voters is funded by contributions from concerned businesses and citizens. Our membership is open to men and women over the age of 16. Remember to vote August 2nd. Democracy is not a spectator sport. Thank you and good night.
Thank you for tuning in to the 2016 Orion Township Candidates Forum. We appreciate the League of Women Voters for being here to help us with this, and especially Orion on TV. Thank you. Have a great night, and don't forget to vote on August 2nd. Thank you.